Hello everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Auto Dealer Diaries. Today I have Don Breg with us. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Glad you're here with us.
Appreciate it.
So tell the audience, what is your job? What is your position at Hayes Automotive?
My job is the collision manager of the body shop. We basically fix wrecked cars. You don't want to come and see me.
That's when the bad day happens.
You do. That's when the bad days happen. We try to make the best out of them all, though.
Where are you from?
I'm actually from Lawrenceville here.
Okay, so
I grew up about 6 or 8 miles from here.
So you've been here all your life?
Been here all my life.
I've never seen anything outside Lawrenceville.
Well, yeah, I have. I've been all over in a lot of places, and right now I do live in the outskirts, right around Commerce, Homer area, out in the country.
Okay.
But I do travel back and forth, and I have been for about 25 years.
Awesome. So we're going to just hop right in. What are the day-to-day responsibilities of a collision repair manager or even employee?
Well, there is a lot of them. It's kind of hard to condense it all. Basically, what I do is I audit tickets. Estimators write estimates. I'm auditing tickets, dealing with payroll, dealing with customers. Sometimes the ones that are not real happy, of course.
The ones that they hand off to, they're like, hey, boss.
Trying to keep them away from upper management.
You're like the middleman between upper management
exactly,
and the employee.
Exactly. And I do also hand out jobs to the technicians. So I've got a number of jobs. I'm what you consider a working manager.
Okay, so a lot of delegating of duties and roles.
Exactly.
Throughout the day.
Yeah, I just don't sit behind a desk.
Do you ever work on cars yourself? I mean, I'm sure you've done that in your past.
Only if, I grew up working on cars, of course. Only when my shop foreman is out. When my shop foreman is out, I do go and QC vehicles, make sure everything is done correctly. So there's a lot of little jobs in between like that I do. Kind of like Ted Hayes, I'm out sweeping the floor when it needs to be done, that kind of stuff. So I have owned my own business before, so I know how the ownership thing works.
How many people do you have, like foremen? I'm assuming those are the people who are working on the cars, correct?
The foreman is he's a shop foreman.
So for the people that don't,
there is different. I've got one shop foreman, and then right now I've got a total of about 5 to 6 techs.
Okay. So what's the difference between a tech and a foreman?
Difference in a tech and foreman is a tech actually works on the cars. They're actually fixing the vehicles. The foreman is QCing them, looking them over. Normally a foreman is one that's actually done the jobs before, and he's moving into a position where he's not hands-on as the techs are.
So he's kind of more like the inspector?
Inspector, kind of quality control, that sort of thing.
Probably someone who has more experience, but knows more stuff, kind of handle it.
I'm not going to say more experienced, but probably right there in the middle of it all. He's the one that knows about everything. He can do it all just like me as a manager. I grew up doing it all. So
yeah. So how long have you been in the automotive business?
I'm getting ready to tell my age. I've actually been in it right around 45 years.
45 years.
Yeah. I started back when I started as a teenager, but I really didn't go to work until after school. After my high school, I went to Lanier Tech for a year and then jumped in with Hayes Auto Service.
So how long out of those 45 years have been with Hayes?
To be totally probably about 27 years.
27 years. Mm-hmm. That's a long time.
It's just a long time.
So you're basically a part of it. You're just like founding family member.
And that's one good thing. That's the reason I'm here, because they do treat me like family. So, and that means a lot. Money is one thing, but when you have people like the Hayeses that will let you do the job that you need to do, and they trust you at it.
Yeah.
That's more than I can say, really.
100%. Family is always like.
It is.
If you don't like where you're working, if you don't like who you're working with, it doesn't matter how much you get paid.
It doesn't matter.
Dread going into work.
Exactly.
So how did you get into collision repair?
My uncle, my dad's brother, he actually owned a shop. And he kind of got me interested in doing it. And during my high school years, I went to it's called the Gwinnett Career Center. Whereas when I was out of high school for a couple of hours early, I would go to Gwinnett Career Center over here in Lawrenceville and spend a couple hours there getting some training and book work and stuff on collision repair.
So you started out like initially in collision repair, or did you start
Yes.
like just kind of more like mechanic side, or
Well, no, it was more body side, but with my uncle, working with my uncle also at the time a little bit, we did it all, mechanical, collision, because back in my days, you could learn everything and be good at everything. Nowadays, you've got to be a computer whiz to be a technician. And I'm not
So you kind of
computer
like did a lot of it, and then
whiz.
kind of jack of all trades, and then you eventually wound up just choosing.
Right.
What made you want to choose collision repair out of all the other?
Again, I had some influence with my uncle. That was probably one of the things that probably pushed me into that. It just didn't pop out of the air. And I was actually always been mechanically inclined, and I found out I was, I say I was pretty good at it. So that got me interested, and of course the money too. Of course it was all hands-on. I always liked working with my hands. And when you're working on a collision, or I restored a lot of cars, when you do that, you can look back and after it's all over and say, well, golly, man, that looks great.
Yeah, just seeing the final product is probably
so
very
satisfaction. A lot of
satisfying.
satisfaction. Yeah.
So last episode we had the Donald Hayes on.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us your first impression of Donald Hayes?
Well, when I first met Donald, now this has been years ago, so you're gonna have
Like
to
5 years ago, right?
Yeah, no. No, I actually went to work for Donald when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
And that's when I met Ted. And most of the Hayeses. Actually, I probably met Mike before I met Ted, Mike Hayes. And but anyway, when I first met Donald, he seemed to be, of course, like any teenager walking into a job, and this is their first body shop job or first job that this is what your career is going to be. Oh, I was very intimidated, of course. But Donald didn't. After a little while, he doesn't. He's not the kind of person that would intimidate you. I was a kid. I was the same age as some of his kids, so he brought me in the same way.
How old was he at the time?
Oh, Donald? Oh, Lord.
Like
Well,
roughly
I'm going to say 50s,
50s.
maybe 60.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that safety is a top priority when repairing these vehicles. Like, what safety measures or protocols do you and your team have in order to make sure that, one, you guys are kept safe, but also make sure your customers are kept safe?
Well, as far as the safety with the guys, we actually go through courses every year. Once a year, we always go through courses. And most of the guys that I do have here have been in shops before, and their careers have been long. So there's not a lot of teaching that I have to go through as far as safety. Some of the kids that come through, but we're hands-on. We take them around the shop. This is a danger, this is a danger, this is a danger, this is what I want you to do or need to do, and always keep your eyes open. And every technician in the shop does the same thing for others. Just for instance, big thing is fire safety. That's got to be one of the number one, especially in the body shop.
A lot of flammable material and liquid.
Flammable material. You're welding. Things can happen. So normally, if we're welding on a car, and it's in an area where we have a lot of flammable, like foam that's in cars nowadays, they can catch it on fire before you know it. I mean, right within seconds, and it can be flaming big time. We have guys that stand around and kind of watch or help, like your apprentices and stuff like that.
Cool.
With either a fire extinguisher or squirt bottles. So it sounds crazy, but it happens. We've literally had that before.
Yeah.
And fire scares me to death because it could mean everybody's job in this dealership and lives.
When did you start working, I guess at Hayes?
Okay, I started my first go-round, because I've worked at them for them twice.
Okay.
My first go-round was back in 1978.
So since 1978, technology has just improved so much.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, have there been any like machines or tools or any upgrades in technology that have played such an impact on making your job easier or more efficient? And
Well,
can you like talk about like what they are? And
Well,
what they've
when we
done?
first, a big one, when we first started back when I was, a kid, there were acetylene torches that we welded panels on cars. Now we have MIG welders, which takes so much less time and a whole lot more safety than a flaming torch with a brass rod.
Like back in the dark ages.
Exactly.
Like wooden stick and you're like,
Exactly. That's probably one of the major things. The frame equipment also has come a long way because you've got your computer measuring systems. It takes a lot of guesswork.
for the viewers who don't know, and like collision repair managers deal often with insurance companies and insurance providers. Like, what is the role of the collision repair shop itself in relation to the insurance providers? Like, what does the collision repair center do?
Well, basically, you have to know insurance on the automobile side because there's so many changes every year through state. Like any of the big insurance companies, they send you, if you're a direct repair, just for instance, we've got to know how to put numbers together to total cars. Among presenting the insurance company the way to fix this car, to make it back safely, to go back on the road for the customer. There's a lot of things that a collision center needs to know, with your insurance companies to, as far as, like I said, estimating, knowing every inch of that car, knowing what needs to be fixed and what needs to be looked for, that kind of stuff. We're almost like an insurance adjuster that comes out and looks at your car in the driveway.
So what you're saying is that you have like a degree in risk management?
Almost.
without college experience.
Yeah.
Can you tell us any stories of over the years, any funny stories, any scary instances of it's been 40 years now, at least. 40 years
I got one that comes to mind for a kid. It's really scary. Back when I first started
Define
working
kid
with
though
Don.
First.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like?
I'm talking about teenagers.
Okay.
Teenager's a kid to me.
Because Donald thought last week he thought I was 13.
Oh no!
I'm 23.
Really? Let me rephrase that. Teenager. Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Because at 18 you're still a teenager.
Yeah.
When I first went to work for Donald, his brother AD, never met him in my life, came to the shop one day. Now I was up in the shop at the time. That was by myself. Everybody else had gone to lunch, and I had a card about as long as this bay here that I was working on because they have big cars back then. So I was sitting back, getting lunch, and I had sat in the car with the door open, and I put my foot up on top of it.
You're in the car you're fixing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put my foot on top of the door with it open, and I fell asleep.
Oh no. I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, well, this is it. So AD and Donald wanted me he wanted to introduce AD to me. So he came up with AD, and they walked in the door. They walked over quietly to the car, and all of a sudden I felt my feet take off.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was AD smacking my feet off that door of that car.
I'm sure you had a heart attack.
Now, yeah, you might as well say that. I really figured I was going home that day. But in the background, Donald was laughing. He was having a good time. And here I am shaking in my boots. Never met this man in my life, not really knowing who he was until I got introduced. That was one of the scariest moments of my life working for Donald Hayes.
I can't imagine. Like, so why did you fall asleep? You were just tired, or was it just like
it was at
super
lunchtime?
Super comfy. You just had a nice meal,
Yeah,
and you were just you're like, I'm just gonna close my eyes for a few minutes, and
Yep. And I think it was only a few minutes, and that's all it took.
But you're still here, though.
Yes,
you're still a core member.
Exactly. Like I said, after that, I got to know AD, and AD's his brother. I'm sure he probably mentioned that, but that was. I look back on it. That was funny. That was really funny.
So what are the most common types of accidents that you see in the collision repair center?
Probably front end collisions more than most any.
Okay.
And those are probably more of the common, because normally
What's the common cause of that?
common cause,
Yeah.
falling too close, people pulling out in front of people.
Yeah, well, this video needs to go to the people who are tailing me on the highway. I'm going the speed limit, and they're like an inch away from me. Like, what else do you want me to do?
And cell phones.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I can definitely see that.
So, that's probably one of the most cause of it, I would think.
What are your hobbies, and what do you do for fun outside of work? And don't say work.
I don't. Well, I'm usually yard working, of course. That's not really a hobby. I do hunt and fish.
Nice.
That's probably my main thing. Used to play golf until I got too old to play golf.
What's your favorite thing to hunt?
Deer.
Deer.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Do you like to eat and cook the venison yourself?
Yeah, we do eat the venison, and most everything that I do a lot of trophy hunting. Okay. I don't really, I do eat meat, but I don't normally kill for meat. I used to years ago when I first started. It was almost like it'd be a slaughter fest when it come to deer. I don't do that anymore. I've got more sense enough to know that I'm not out there for the meat. I'm out there for the trophy.
What is one thing you would like to leave with the viewers?
Mainly about haze. I couldn't have a better relationship with your employer than you would at Hayes. Mainly because when they say the family business, that's what they mean. They're all their employees. There's not one Hayes that I know of that doesn't walk through this building and try to go and talk to most everybody here and know them by name. That's one thing I like about them, because when I come to work, I feel like family, and they treat me just like that.
That's amazing.
So that's
well, Don, thank you so much for joining us on the second episode of the Auto Dealer Diaries. It's been a pleasure having you and sharing your experience and scary stories with us.
Yeah, well, I've probably got a few more, but we won't deal with that one those anymore right now. So,
awesome.
But I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All good.
All I want is you.